There's some mistakes in Marvel Strike Force that could set your account back months, even years if you're doing these wrong. Well, in this video, don't make those mistakes anymore. These are the best do's and don'ts, primarily for newer players starting up a Marvel Strike Force account. But if you're a mid-game player, there's gonna be some tips in here for you to watch as well. And if you're an end-game player like myself, maybe you're thinking about starting over, maybe you're thinking about having a friend start playing, this is the video you wanna watch as well. And if you're ready for all of these awesome tips, guys, find that like button. You know what to do. Let's go smash it.
ValleyFlyin.
Hello. What is up, Valley Maniacs? I am ValleyFlyin. I want to welcome you back to the ValleyFlyin channel. And if this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button because we have at least 5 Marvel Strike Force videos per week on this channel. Hit that notification bell as well so you know as soon as a new video goes up. But yes, we're talking all about Marvel Strike Force in this video, all about a newer account. So if you're just starting Marvel Strike Force, this is the video for you. You don't want to make these mistakes. You want to not do certain things, and you want to do certain things. We're talking all about that. If you're a mid-game player, we got some tips for you as well. And if you're an end-game player like myself, and maybe you want another account, maybe one account is not good enough for you, or maybe you want some of your real life friends to start playing, they don't know where to begin, this is gonna be the video for them. Now, I'm not gonna talk about certain characters and certain teams in this video because you may be watching this video 6 months from when I'm recording this, and some of these teams will be obsolete. So some of the character recommendations, not gonna do that in this video, but I want to talk about concepts that are gonna help progress your account as quickly as possible. So let's go right into the game for that. And I think the first number one tip that you want to be doing is having fun in the game. I think a lot of times it's very easy to lose sight of that, especially with some of the frustrating mechanics in this game, like this red star system, like the real-time arena, like certain other things, like Heroes for Hire and War Defense. There's certain things that will be very, very frustrating, but there's also things that I enjoy. I'm sure if you're playing this that you enjoy as well. And I think it's best to focus on these things. There's so many other stress areas in life that you could focus on. This is the area that we want to escape from, that we want to release from. So having fun in the game. All right, with that said, you gotta remember, this is an older game. It's a little older than 4 years if we include the first beta. It's a little less than 4 years old if we're talking about global launch, but this is around a 4-year-old game, which means you have players of all different levels and you have roster size of all different levels. And it's hard to give one specific tip for everybody because there's so many players that are playing this game that started at different levels in this game. And you got to remember, with these hero collector type games, a lot about your roster progression is either grinding a lot, playing a lot, spending a lot of time through this daily trickle that we're getting of resources, or speeding up that process and spending a lot. So you got to go with the right mindset, especially if you're a newer player now. This is an older game. It's going to be very hard to catch up to the end game or the meta. It's probably going to take a little over a year unless you're a crazy spender. I've heard that it takes about a year to get to from level 0, starting a brand new account, to level 85, which is the maximum level, the maximum commander level that you could have on your account as of us recording this. So it's going to be a little while before you're in the end game, but there's a lot of fun that you could have along the way. There's a lot of fun that I had along the way as I was building up my account. So remember that. Now, as a newer player, grinding is where you're going to get a lot of your resources. And one place that you could get that is in Blitz. Now, in the beginning, as a newer player, you're going to be going through this newer player Blitz. And it lasts, I'm not sure. I've gotten various reports. Some say it lasts 30 days. Some say it lasts 60 days. Some anywhere in between. Some people are saying that it lasts till level 60. Well, the way that you could tell if you're in a new player Blitz is go through these milestones here and all the way down to the last milestone. If it is 350,000, you're in a new player Blitz, and you should be grinding hard because you're going against other players with similar roster sizes. Once you get to these 750 on these milestones, that means you got thrown to the wolves. You've already surpassed whatever the threshold is for that. which means that not having the blitz is hard. So before you reach that, when you're in the 350k on those milestones, you need to go hard. You're gonna get a lot of character shards here, and a lot of longer time players already have a lot of these characters at the max level, so they're not going hard. This is an opportunity for you to get a lot of shards. You can get a lot of other rewards in these blitzes. So going hard in these blitzes is going to be important in the beginning. You don't have a lot of time in the game, so you have to make that up by grinding a lot. Blitz is one area that you could grind. Other thing that you're going to get a lot of resources is just through these daily objectives. A lot of the stuff that you get is through these daily objectives, which means that logging in, doing your objectives every day, and playing every day is going to be very important. Doing that daily play is probably going to be a lot more, you're going to get a lot more resources in the long run than spending some money right in the beginning. Now, if you are a spender, there is an offer that pops up as a newer player. If we look at these cores right here, I value these cores. It's probably about 100 cores for about $1. I think that's a good deal. Anything less than that, I don't think is a very good deal. But as a newer player, you're going to get one of the best deals ever if you don't make any purchase. So the first purchase you should make, if you're someone that's considering spending money, there's 1,000 cores that you get for $1. In my estimation, $1 is about 100 cores. So you're getting 10 times the value there. And that's at the sale price, not at their normal prices. So get that first. And there's also a lot of offers for full teams that you could get. End game players don't get that. Mid game players, they don't get that. But as a newer player, you're going to get some of these offers that give you full teams. Now, certain teams are better than others, and I'm going to give you my prioritization depending what team pops up. And yeah, I don't want to recommend certain teams, like I said, right now, because some of these teams, they might pop up, be very good right now, but 3 months from now, not very good. 6 months from now, trash. So judge the team, judge the offer based on what you need in the game. And of course, let's not forget Amazon coins. If you live in most of the regions, I know it's good in the US, I know it's good in certain other countries, not in all countries though. You could save up to 20% off of all your in-game purchases by using that Amazon coins link. It is down in the description. Coins.valleyflyin.com will also get you there. So that is my next step. Just you're gonna have to just realize having that fun, but you're gonna have to grind a lot or spend a lot to catch up. So it can be done, but you're gonna have to do one of those things. Or you could just play casually, have fun, not worry about chasing the meta, but keep that fun in mind. All right, so let's talk about roster. And I think it's very easy to get distracted with the roster, with all these new meta characters coming out, all these new shiny objects. But I think having a very lean, a very focused roster is going to get you a lot further in the long run. Now, how do you build your roster? What should you focus on? Well, I think for newer players, the most important game mode that you got to get through is this campaign. The campaign is where you're going to unlock a lot of character shards. You're going to get a lot of gear. You're going to get training mats, gold, a lot of things you're going to get from these campaigns. And you're going to assemble a heroes team, a villains team. Nexus, you could use whatever characters. You're going to have some cosmic characters for cosmic conflicts, mystic characters for the mystic section, and Doom. This is probably going to be the most challenged for newer players and end game players or mid game players, is because a lot of these nodes, or all of these nodes, have some requirements. So this node right here, you could only use hero mutant or hero inhuman characters. These nodes here, you hero mystic or guardians. And some of these nodes, the characters that you can use are not very good. You got Avengers or Fantastic Four. That's going to be a challenging node because as of me recording this, the Fantastic Four and Avengers, they're not very good. And then you have some other ones. So build your teams, build them to the bare minimum so you can get through the campaign. I think that is the most important game mode for players, to get through the campaign. You're not going to be able to do it all at once. You're probably going to stop maybe in Nexus, maybe in Mystic, maybe in Doom, but start working on these teams to get through that campaign as fast as possible. Next, in my opinion, the most important game mode for newer players to get through are these challenges. You have a bunch of these challenges. You have 2 different challenges every day, and you have 2 different one different gear challenge per day. So today was the orb fragments, the catalyst of change. You also have Gold Rush, training day, where you get training mats, you get abilities, and you get a medical supply run, and then you got a bunch of these other challenges that give you the gear that you need. And all of these run different days, but Saturdays you get all of these gear ones, and Sundays you're gonna get all of these resource ones. So I think this is the next most important game mode. Again, like the challenges though, you want to go bare minimum with this. Get the bare minimum characters to get you through the highest tier possible. Day one, you're not going to get through some of these higher tiers, but get through as much as you can of these, because these are the resources that you're going to need on a daily basis. You want to up your surplus of these. So getting through your challenges, I think, is going to be the next most important area. Next is going to be Arena. That is where I think is the most important game mode, even for end game players, because of the rewards you get. And what rewards you get here? Well, you're getting power cores. I think power cores are one of the most important resources that you have to manage in the game. It'll help you in every single game mode. We're going to talk a little bit about best place to spend power cores in just a little bit, but Arena, I think it's important because of these power cores. Some people think the raids are a little more important, but it depends on what you value. Maybe towards the end game, those things get a little more muddy, but in the beginning, I think Arena Store is more important because of the power cores. You're going to need those to help progress your roster as quick as possible. We'll go through each of these stores and talk about what is the value of each of these resources. But I think next, after your Arena team, should be your raid team. Now, as a newer player, you're probably going to start in Ultimates, eventually work your way up to these Doom raids. And then you also have these Greek raids. These are the 2 week at a time, we get a different Greek raid. Currently, as I'm recording this, we have an alpha, a beta, and a gamma. There's no fourth one, but they may add that in the future. And then you're going to get your daily raids that are always there. The Ultimates raids, you only have to build one team for it because there's no restrictions. As you start moving up, you're going to have to start expanding your roster because Doom has some restrictions for the different characters that you can build in there. So get your raids solid, whether you're doing Ultimates or Doom. Make sure that you have a good raid team. After that, I think that these flash events are very important. We have one flash event per week, sometimes two. As we see this now coming up in a couple days from me recording this, is this Back to Boot Camp. Now, what you're going to get from Back to Boot Camp is training mats. You're going to get a lot of training mats. You get a training orb here, training mats. And what you need for this are military skill characters. Characters like Black Widow, Red Guardian. There may be some other characters in the future, and you may be watching this, maybe better choices for military skill. But you're going to want to build up your military skill for those training mats and these flash event. Chaos Theory is what going to give you those promotion credits. That Red Star store that we talked about, that's kind of trashy. Well, you're going to get the stuff to promote your characters. The Red Stars actually just give your characters a little more power. The bad thing about these Red Stars is it's totally up to the luck. It's totally totally up to RNG. Which means that that Back to Boot Camp event, or excuse me, that Chaos Theory event, which gives you those promotion credits, gives you minimal control over your roster, which characters you could work on. It's gonna be very important, and you're gonna need to build up Wakandans for that. Yeah, they're not very good in the game as I'm recording this. Maybe they'll get a rework later in 2022, but yeah, you're gonna need to build them up just for that Chaos Theory event. Block Party is the flash event that gives you promo credits, and you're gonna wanna build up your city heroes. You got a lot of great options at city heroes that you can build up. Some early game teams, Heroes for Hire, Web Wars, maybe the Symbiotes if they switch some of these nodes in the future. Relic Hunt is gonna give you gear, like your catalysts. That one's probably least important because you're getting a lot of catalysts and stuff through your daily challenges, but you're gonna wanna build your hand eventually for that event. And then gold, you're needing gold. Gold and training mats are very, very scarce resources. So you're gonna wanna get as much gold as possible. You're gonna wanna build up your mercenaries for that payday event. So building those events, very important. You want to make sure that you have those flash events covered. And then last but not least, I'm not talking about Blitz because that is up to each player, but War is also a very important mode. Now, I think War offense is more important than War defense, but realize that they use ELO ranking in War, which means that your win rate should be about 50%. And if you look at the rewards for each individual War, there's not that much of a difference between winning and losing. So War, I think, gets put on the back burner a little bit. So that is where I rank these characters. So building up based on that. Campaigns, challenges, then Arena. The Arena characters, you could put your max resources in them. Usually with Arena teams, they last in the meta for a while. So if you're using a character in Arena, you're probably gonna get some use out of that character for a little while, unless it's towards the end of their meta and a new character is coming up. Raids, I think you could also build confidently with those characters as well. But campaigns, challenges, and especially these flash events, build very, very minimally for those, because once you finish those, you're just gonna be simming those. You're just gonna be collecting the rewards from them, and you don't have to put any extra resources. So bare minimum for all of those modes. All right, let's talk about each of these stores, because you have to spend on these characters. What should you spend on? Let's go by store. Let's go with this main supply store. I'm buying this teal gear right now because that's very hard to get in the game. But if there's any resources that you're looking at, this is probably where you should get into supply store. Not all of these are great values, especially for newer players. You probably don't want to buy these unless you have a surplus of power cords and you don't know what to do with. These usually aren't a great value. Once in a while, they will have new characters in here for a more expensive rate. But normally with this stuff, you're not buying a lot towards the bottom. You do need to spend at least 3 times. You need to make at least 3 purchases per day. But whatever gear you need, I would just buy that in the store. You do need to buy it anyway. All right. So that is the main supply section. We'll talk about orbs when we get to power cores in a little bit. All right. Blitz store. Once you unlock war, I don't remember what level that unlocks at, but once you unlock war, you're gonna need some defense boosts and your energy refills. These catalyst parts are not a great deal. Don't buy these. And let's talk about these characters. There's some good characters in here, but I think as your roster expands, you're wanting to get more selective with these characters as you get more characters up to 7 stars. But one of the best things that you get is this Blitz Orb right here, because when you use all of these, let's just use all of these now. When you use all of these are going to cost 350 Blitz credits. If you look, selecting your character that you want is going to cost a little bit more, 500 Blitz credits. So for newer players, especially if you don't have a lot of characters at 7 reds or 7 gold stars, these Blitz Orbs, they're going to give you the most character shards possible. Now you're gonna sacrifice some of the agency on your characters, some of doing exactly what you want to do per character for that, but you're gonna get the most character shards. And in the beginning, getting the most character shards is important. So Blitz Orb is where I'd go. And then down the road, if you're really selecting characters and building specific teams, then you could get selective with it. All right, and that's another reason you want to grind in Blitz, because you could do those sort of things. You could have the resources to do those sort of things. All right, same kind of thing with the raid store, but the thing about the raid store, these characters, they go through rotation. As we see in the game right now, there are 4 characters that go through here, so you're gonna have to get lucky, 1, to get them to pop up, and yeah, hopefully you have enough credits for there. Now this raid orb, again, it costs a little cheaper than it does to select these characters. So if you don't have a lot of characters, if the majority of your roster is not at 7 stars, especially the characters in this raid store, I would recommend going with this raid orb. You're going to lose some of that selectivity over the characters that you are actually getting shards for, but at the expense of getting more shards total. So, and in the beginning, I think that is more important than that. I don't really buy a lot of this stuff here. Sometimes I'm buying this purple stuff or this green stuff, but not a lot that you should be buying in the raid store as a newer player. I think shards are the best thing for newer players until the majority of your roster is at 7 stars. Let's talk about this, the arena store. Now, there's a couple things with the arena store. I would not recommend this orb. This orb costs 800 arena credits. Normal characters, not at the increased rate, cost 975, and the cheaper characters, the older characters, cost 500. So I would probably not get this orb. I would selectively buy characters that are gonna help you focus on your task at hand, whether it be the campaigns, challenges, arena, raid, whatever game mode you need. Focus on the characters that's actually gonna help you the most there. Hopefully it's a meta character, but I probably would not buy these unless you're really short in this on the exclusive orb character. You could probably skip this arena orb unless you're doing it. Now, the war store is probably one of the most crowded stores, relies on RNG. There's not an orb here that you could buy that has all these characters. And like the raid store, you're not going to see all of these characters available at the same time. So Blitz store and arena store, you're having all the characters available. War store, it goes through rotation. There's 3 characters that pop up out of a huge pool, and the raid store, there's 4 characters that pop over out of a huge pool. Now you're gonna get some good gear here, depending on how active you are in war and how many credits you have built up. you may want to just get these character shards and skip over the gear and just using your gold in the normal supply section for that. Now, there's one thing down here that as you start to get your alliances level up, you won't need this star tech as much because you've maxed out your star tech. You can start to buy war credits, elite war credits, and elite 4 credits as well. And that is what I would recommend for the stores. This Red Star store, you're gonna have a lot of RNG as well. You're gonna get that stuff, like I said, through a lot of just different events, but you're gonna get a majority of these through Chaos Theory. You could upgrade your characters, giving them increased stats with these red stars, but a lot of it will be RNG, and these orbs are just up the chance there. And I don't really open a lot of these. All right, so that is the best place to use. That's the best place to use your resources. That is my overview of each of the stores. Now, one important tip that I do want to mention, if most of your roster is not at 7 gold stars yet, what I would do is farming a lot of these characters up to 6 stars, because you have these free orbs that you get. Next free orb that I'm getting is gonna be in 21 minutes. You get a bunch of these per day. You also have, just through the normal events, premium orbs, basic orbs. You have different event orbs, like right now going on, we have a Spider-Punk event, and you have this Rebel orb right here, which has a bunch of different characters. So I would stop a lot of my character farming at 6 stars, and then just through the progression, just let the random character shards you get them to 7 stars. The exception is if you need a character specifically for one of those game modes I mentioned, you need them a little stronger. Maybe there's another legendary event that you're really pushing for coming up. Then yeah, selectively farm that character, get them up to 7 stars if you need them. But every other character, rank them up to 6, and you should be good, and eventually getting them up there. Right, next, finding a good alliance. That is very, very important. Now, what do I mean by good alliance? Well, you want an alliance that matches your activity level. And if you're a casual player, maybe you're not concerned about getting to the end game as quick as possible, and you just want to have fun. Well, you want to find an alliance that's playing around your style, that's doing around the progress that you want to make in the game. You know, if you're with a hardcore alliance and you're very casual, that's not going to be a nice fit. If you're a hardcore player and you're in a casual alliance, that's not going to be a good fit. So finding an alliance that matches your play style, matches your activity level, the best place to do that, in my opinion, is going to the main Discord channel. You could go to my channel. You could go to my Discord as well. There's links to that. There's some recruiting channels as well. On Discord. Facebook is another good place as well. I would not recommend using the global in-game chat. That is not how to find a good alliance. So whatever outside communication you want to use, whether it be Discord or Facebook or Line or some other things, that's probably where you should find your alliance and having that alliance communicate on that. We talked about having your alliance mate match your activity level, also your progress rate. One thing that I don't think a lot of newer players are considering with these raids is, if let's say we go to Ultimates right here. Let's go to one of these earlier Ultimates raids. Look at the rewards that you get for this. You're getting blue gear, you're getting, or blue ability mats, purple ability mats, you're getting blue gear, purple gear. Well, sometimes, people want to get you the end game as quick as possible, which you should. But unfortunately, the way these raids are structured as of I was recording this, if we go to, let's go to Doom, which is a more challenging raid, and we see some of the rewards here, we'll see that there's no gear like that. There's no blue ability mats. There's no purple ability mats. And for myself, I was in those Ultimates raids for probably 3 years, if I'm remembering that correctly. So I have a lot of those blue and purple ability mats stockpiled. Some of the players that are coming up, they don't have that. So watch your progress rate. You don't want an alliance that's progressing too slowly either, because they're going to be holding you back. There is a downside to progressing too quickly though, and that is not having the surplus on the resources. Other main thing that I want to mention is make sure that you're finding time to get all of these first time rewards. A lot of them I have already, except for Doom 2.2. We don't have that yet. We're actually going for 100%, I think, tomorrow. So hopefully we get that soon. And then difficulty 3. So make sure you're getting a lot of good rewards on these first-time rewards. Make sure that you're not skipping these by. Make sure your alliance isn't progressing too quickly that you're skipping over them for yourself. So get all those things, get all those good first-time rewards. Now, let's go to power cores, because getting in a good alliance, getting an alliance that matches you is very important. But power cores, you got to know how to spend these as new players. Now, as a new player, the best thing that you could spend this on, in my opinion, is this campaign energy. Not only is it because you want to use your campaign energy as much as possible, which is why going through that campaigns is very important. It's going to help you progress faster, because you're going to get character shards quicker, you're going to get gear quicker, you're going to get training mats, gold, you're going to get all that stuff from this campaign energy. So this is probably the best place to use it. The 50s, you should be using those, especially if you're doing pretty good in arena. The 100s, maybe in select circumstances, use those. I usually don't do the 100s, but every day I do all the 50s. Same thing with this ISO 8 campaign energy, spending the 50s here. And if you look, we get a lot of this stuff that we could purchase. What is this stuff called? What is that? Whatever that stuff is called, that you could purchase this energy refreshes, and it's good. So campaign energy, ISO 8 energy to increase the ISO 8 of your characters. And you also get some training mats and things there as well. And then last but not least, for newer players, I'm recommending this event energy. So right now we have an event going on right now. Usually per patch, there's one event. This is the event that we have going on this patch. And I think there was actually two, since this is a longer patch, but spending this stuff. Normally I spend all the 50s. I normally spend the 100s, but that's the best place, I think, to spend cores, those free sources. Now, as you're progressing, as you're getting towards the end game, these aren't very good values, but these might be better values than what you would need. Maybe towards the end game, you don't need a lot of that energy, but maybe you need a couple shards for T'Challa. Well, this is a horrible value, but if you are like 6 shards away, which is the bare minimum of these orbs, then there's some people that could buy it, especially if you're free to play, been playing for a while, have that larger roster, and don't know where to use your power cores on. Getting these is not the worst thing, but I would not recommend it at all for newer players unless you're someone that just spends a lot. That is it as far as power cores, but most of the time you're going to spend it on your energy and all that stuff. Now, there's also select people that it might make sense to do these refreshes, especially if you're rushing into a dark dimension. But I would not rush into any of the dark dimensions. Now, right now we're at commander levels 85. Very important level that I want to remind you of, and that's level 60. Why do you want to get to level 60 as quick as possible? It's going to save you some time. It might throw you out of the beginner blitz bracket, but if you're already out of there, get to level 60 as possible. The reason for that is this unlocks blitz sim, which means that I could just take this team and let's see if they win. Let's see if this team wins here. Boom. And they do win. That blitz is done. Now, you want to pay attention to these advanced options, because this is where you go for this stuff. Low graphics mode, portrait screen orientation, quick alliance access, and that's where you could alliance your access your daily donations very quickly without having to go through that helicarrier. Item count in store, reduce combat text, show autoplay, basic only option, active dark dimension, download all iSets on Wi-Fi. This is very important on patch days, and enable higher rendering. So that'll look really, really nice on certain devices. So that is where to do all that stuff. Getting Blitz Sim, level 60, very, very important. Now, let's talk about legendaries, because at one time, the advice that I was giving and a lot of people were giving is build legendaries as quickly and unlock them as quickly as possible. I don't know if that's the thing anymore. If we take a look at some of these legendaries, Adam Warlock is still relevant. These are the characters that you need to build them, and they're not bad characters. They're still pretty relevant in today's meta. Black Bolt has kind of fallen off, and so has the Asgardians, so I don't know if I'll be rushing to build them. I think focusing on campaigns and some of this early game stuff is more important than rushing to get these legendaries. X-Force, kind of out of the meta. Doc Ock, kind of out of the meta now. Not as important as he was before. You don't need to rush for this. Black Bolt will help you unlock Ebony Moss. You could help him there, but yeah, he's kind of fallen down as well. Invisible Woman, not really used anymore. Iron Man, never really used. Jubilee is still used, still an important character, but these are some trashy characters to unlock Jubilee. I don't know what the expense is of delaying that, so you don't need to rush on a lot of these legendary characters. Magneto's out of the meta. Nick Fury's out of the meta, but you will need him to unlock this guy, Omega Red, who's an important meta character. And Phoenix, one of the best characters at one time, not in the meta anymore. Shuri, you're going to need to unlock her for the Chaos Theory, but outside of that, not much. Star-Lord's not a very good character anymore. So you don't need to rush for the Legendaries anymore. I'm changing my stance on that. A lot of it because a lot of these legendary characters have fallen out of the meta. It's like an all senior citizen club because a lot of these characters are so old and got power crept so bad. Last but not, or almost last, is Dark Dimension. We talked about this a little, not as important as before. Just like the Legendaries were super important before, Dark Dimension is not as important as before. Ultimus, when he first came into the game, game-changing, or Ultron, excuse me, game-changing. One of the most important characters to have. This is old Dark Dimension though, so not in the meta anymore. Dark Dimension 3 doesn't give you any characters. Dark Dimension 4 gives you Doctor Doom, and that is a good character, still in the meta, but that's not something for newer players, and I'm still trying to get into Dark Dimension 5. The good thing about that is Dormammu doesn't seem as game-changing as Ultron once was, so if you're missing out on him, it's not the worst thing. And then let's talk about this. Last but not least, the Red Stars. They are trash. Just be aware of that. Hopefully this is obsolete message and this gets reworked sometime this year, and you're watching this and you're thinking, oh, Red Stars are not trash, but as of me recording this, they are trash. Just know that. That is it, guys. That is my tips for beginners. If there's any other tips that I left out, let me know in the comments. And yeah, hopefully this helps you. Hopefully this helps your friends or anybody else that is struggling to get towards that end game in Marvel Strike Force. Like I said, we do at least 5 Marvel Strike Force videos per week on this channel. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Hit that thumbs up button if this video was helpful for you. And share this with your friends, guys. If it provided value, share the wealth, share the love with the rest of the Valley Club and the Marvel Strike Force community. I will see you guys next time. Have a great rest of your day. Give me that Hulk fist before you go. ValleyFlyin, out.